So recently we debuted this EFS MV Triton on YouTube with 4-wheel drive 24/7. We did an awesome trip down in Tassie and we've had a few questions from you viewers at home. One, what is the build cost on this thing? Can we all afford it? Is it something attainable? And two, what issues did we actually encounter on the trip? Stick around and watch this video and we'll explain it all for you. So here's some of the main components of the build. The EFS Escape Bull Bar, R13 winch, Vivid Max Ultra lighting, MRP full suspension kit, EFS seat covers, EFS leaf springs, roof platform and awning, and a set of Yokohama Geo3 tyres. Now all these new vehicles have a lot of tech packed into them, which means we've got to pack a lot of tech into the bull bar. So a lot of bull bars on the market currently actually cost a hell of a lot of money, but the EFS Escape Bar right here is actually really well priced and it's fully winch compatible, comes with LED fog lights and built-in recovery points, which is perfect for pulling yourself out of the mud in sticky situations. Now all the lights on the front of this car might look like they're a bit much, but when they're priced this well, we can get away with it. So we've gone for 2 9-inch lights and 2 7-inch lights because I get a little bit scared of the dark. We were driving at night time. I didn't know what I was going to be running into, so I'd really like to see where I'm going. But we didn't stop there. We've actually also put in a 40-inch light bar on the roof. Now, one of the main reasons we actually put this escape bar on the front of the car was to house our Recon 13,000-pound winch. Now, these winches don't break the bank, but what they will do is help you winch up a bank. We winched up banks, through bog holes, off of trees, and it never failed us the entire trip. When we built this car, there was only one model of snorkel available on the market, and that was the Meredith Metalworks stainless snorkel. And we actually fit this up and we've been super stoked with it. It finishes really good, it seals perfectly, and it made sure that we didn't get any water into the intake, which would have ended our trip straight away. Now, when we were doing some aggressive wheeling in this car, people might not think that I was trying to prevent damage, but we definitely were. And one way we could do that is by putting on these X-Rocks sliders. These things copped an absolute beating, and for the price, they're well worth the insurance to stop us stoving in these sills. Now on the trip, we actually had nowhere to put my swag while we were driving, so we threw it up on this EFS platform here. And some of these platforms are getting really expensive at the moment, but the EFS platform comes in at a fraction of the cost. So we thought about running with a factory tub and a canopy on it, but we actually just took that off and we threw it in the bin. We did that because we wanted something that was a bit more heavy duty for these tracks that we're doing and all the trips that it's gonna do in the future. We've got a way better departure angle and we've got somewhere to keep all of our stuff nice and dry, house our dual battery system, our fridge, and everything else that we need. It's all in here safe. We've got our awning mounted on top, our shower mounted on the other side. Everything you need is on there, and we've even got some external space at the back for some firewood or bits and pieces. So for anyone who was wondering how we ran our canopy system, this is a bit of insight for you. We've got our Mike Coolman fridge here with our Clearview Easy Slide. So that drops out nice and out of the way, and we can access everything else that's in there. To power that fridge, we have our full kick-ass dual battery system, which is running a lithium battery, a 3000 watt inverter, and this canopy system here, which has everything we need all in one spot, all of our switches and outlets and all of our readouts so we can keep an eye on it. Behind that, we actually have our air compressor with a retractable air hose, which was super handy because I didn't have to have a bird's nest of air hose and try and fold it away, just pull straight back in, nice and easy. And on the other side, we actually have a single drawer to keep everything nice and organized. Now, it's no use in having all of this stuff that we've got under here in the canopy with our fridge and battery system if we're going to Tassie and it's going to be raining sideways. We actually need some cover. So we put on our 270-degree awning, which has all of the sidewalls we could zip in as well, so we could protect from wind, rain, and sun. Not that we had much of that, but that is the ultimate awning at the ultimate price. No, it's not an awning for Oompa Loompas, it's actually a shower tent. And this came in super handy because in the second episode, which actually isn't out yet, we drove through a lot of mud. And guess who got the muddiest? This guy. Under there fixing cars in the mud. It gave me the opportunity to get away from prying eyes, Jesse, and actually have some privacy while I cleaned myself out in the open of our campsite. So very lucky I had that, and it was a small price to pay for a bit of luxury and comfort. Now, while we're out there having a bit of a yahoo and absolute ball with our friends, we want to be able to insult them as often as possible. And the best way to do that is with this XRS GME radio. Now, this thing you cannot fault. They're Australian made, they're super good quality, and they're the best on the market. So just shelled out all this money for a new car, you're not going to want to jump in the muddy tracks like we are, hop on your brand new seats and absolutely ruin them. So we chucked on this set of EFS seat covers. They're waterproof, they're mud proof, and they're super comfy. Now, in my opinion, this is somewhere you just can't skimp. Don't go chuck some cheap tyres on your four-wheel drive, because that is literally the first point of contact between either the road or whether it's off-road and you and your vehicle. This is like imperative for safety and for traction. So if you actually want to drive the tracks, make sure you've got some good tyres. We've got these Yokohamas on some nice new Elite rims, and we had some flares that were fitted on the front. There's still one on the other side, but I kindly deleted this one with a tree on one of our trips. So one vital piece of equipment that we couldn't have done without on this trip was these bash plates from Custom Off-Road. If we didn't have them on there, there is not a doubt that we wouldn't have got through that trip, because we've got our electric power steering under there, the sumps there, and we've got our transmission there. This back panel here was actually bent right up and was only this far away from the transmission pan. So you could only imagine what would happen if that wasn't there. To me, for the price of these, that's some cheap insurance that'll get you home. So now that we've added all of this other gear to this car, the backbone that really holds it all together is the suspension. We've opted to go for the MRP 2.5s, which is our flagship model of shock absorber. That's because it gives us the most control, the most adjustment, and it's going to cater for all different scenarios. We didn't know what we were in for when we went down to Tassie, so we had the MRPs in there so we could play with the heights in the front before we set off, and we could also adjust them as we went along. So quite often I was backing the compression right off, as well as the rebound, just for those really slow moving tracks where we're doing a lot of crawling. Then when we blast back onto the road, in between doing tracks, I could firm it up a bit so, you know, I could cut down that roll and make it drive really well on the road as well. So now that we've gone through absolutely every component that we fitted to this vehicle, it's time to get down to what you really want to know. How much did it cost? Here is the cost of the vehicle, and here is the cost of all the accessories, which gives us a grand total of... Now keep in mind that all of the prices we've listed here are at full tilt retail. If you were to go into one of our EFS Adventure stores or one of our EFS dealers around the country, I'm sure they'd be happy to help you out with a package deal. So one of the only things that I would do differently next time for this car would be to put a front locker in. Now everyone else on the trip had a front locker, and that really showed in the footage. There was a couple of obstacles that we couldn't get up, but if we had that front locker in there, we definitely would have walked those tracks so much easier. Now, apart from the lack of front locker, this car performed absolutely above and beyond my expectations, and I think a lot of others as well. Now, a lot of people have been asking, oh, what did you actually break? Well, this car, apart from the rear locker stopper working, didn't break a single thing on the trip. Yes, I did meet a tree with the front guard at one point, which put a little dent in it, and there's a slight dent behind the door, a couple of marks on the tray, but mechanically, with everything we put on there, we're probably expecting to break some CVs, a few other things, and absolutely not a footstep wrong. Now, the rear locker, that did stop working, which is a factory fitted e-locker, and basically what happened there is when we were winching in the first bog hole, the voltage got brought down so low because the alternator couldn't keep up with the winch's demands, and what that did is actually log low voltage codes in the CAN system. Now, the rear lockers on these, the whole system has to work together. So if there's any faults in any of the modules in a CAN system, it'll just fire out an error and it won't allow you to put the diff lock in. So that's what we ran into there. We did a quick on the track fix and just wired it into an external switch like I've said in that first episode, and that remained for the rest of the trip and we didn't have another issue. Now, reason why we weren't running with the traction control is because all of these tracks that we were driving in low range. As soon as you engage low range in these vehicles, it turns that traction control off. Without the rear locker working, it caused issues, yes, but when the rear locker was in, same wheel speed in the rear end, mean that we could just cruise up those tracks, and that wasn't an issue whatsoever. So if you're planning your own build, there's a couple of questions you first need to ask yourself. That is, what are you going to use the vehicle for? And what is your budget? So the vehicle that you choose is going to be entirely up to what you want to do with it. Some people are just going up the beach every now and then. Some people are going really hardcore four-wheel driving, and some people just need to tow a van and they might just go to a caravan park. So make sure that you choose a vehicle that's going to suit your needs. And I know that everyone doesn't have an endless budget. I know I certainly don't. So we need to look at those accessories which are gonna make the most out of our four-wheel drive for what we're gonna use it for. For me, it would be starting at the front of the vehicle. I like to have a bull bar on there, one, to protect the car, and two, to house the other accessories. Now, not everyone's gonna need a winch, but a bull bar is definitely a good place to start. Gives you somewhere to put lights, an aerial for your UHF, and you can always add a winch later if you start doing some more extreme things. The other is going to be suspension and wheels and tyres, which kind of go hand in hand. So we put the suspension upgrade in there to give us a bit more clearance for bigger tyres, which gives us more clearance off-road, and it's actually going to make the car drive a hell of a lot nicer on and off-road as well. So if you've got any more questions at all, let us know in the comments below, and make sure that you like and subscribe to our channel because we've got a hell of a lot more cool content coming your way.